Conference will now be recorded.
Hi.
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
So the first thing is like, what is Nginx? Okay. So typically it's a web server. Okay. Typically we call it this as a web server. Now, um, question is what is web server? So now if you see that all the website which is served, okay, that is being served through the web server. So typically how it works. So we have we use some, let's say www.motoshare.com. We put in this domain in the DNS, browser. So it goes to the DNS server, right? And DNS server, we redirect to, let's say if you have a load balancer, so ALB and load balancer. And then from the load balancer, it takes to the web server. Web server is the place where we have this software installed. So it can be Nginx, it can be Apache. Apache is also popular web server, is open source. This is also, you have a paid version also, and free version also. And there's one more which was from the Microsoft IES. So all the traffic which is coming here, and based on the request which you get it redirect. Let's say you type motoshare, so it may redirect to some directory, okay, where the software is lying, some code, your software code is sorry, is located. Are you understanding?
Yeah.
So web server is basically for the HTTP and two protocol, HTTP and HTTPS. These two protocol, all the traffic which is coming, it processed through the web server. Okay, so this has so many functionalities, so it's not so only this one, so many functionalities are there. So now, yes, it's a web server. We have a two versions of it, free and paid. Okay, so once we install the web server, the most important thing uh, is your configuration, because this is the complete things while using the web server. Configurations, for example, if the traffic is coming from here, it should go to this directory or that directory or something else. It's everything is stored in the configurations. Okay, so that we will discuss. Before that, let me install the web server. So right now, go to the Nginx download, and here you have a download options. It's for the Windows also, and the version right now is 1.29. Okay, so here you have a source code, and website is this one for that. So there was a package manager, I think this one, Nginx. Yeah, copy this and put it up, download this one. You can download through, install through apt also, that is up to you. Okay, and tar hyphen z xvf and done. So go to Nginx directory 1.29, and here you have a complete files. Inside this you have a configurations, and this file is most important one. Okay, this file is most important one. Here you have configure button, configure script also. This you can use for configuring. What is this? say. So this one you can use for installing and configurations and all stuff like that. So this is a source code. You can go to their website also here. I mean GitHub, and complete details you have here actually. Okay. So downloading and installing is here, and so on. Load balancing feature, rate limiting, and all many things you have actually. Okay, so here this installation document which you see is for the first compiling it and then installing it using GCC. GCC is like a C++ compiler. And then so you clone this, run this command auto configure for build, and then make this will create a package and then install. So these are the 4 steps. The one which I downloaded here, first thing you have to do, update your operating system, install the GCC compiler. These are the external libraries, install it. Again install a few more libraries, clone the repository, just now I did download, right? And run this auto configure. Auto configure will configure the environment, then compile the C++, then install the C++, and then your software will be installed here, and then you can use kernel. Make sense? This is for the source. Are you understanding?
Yep.
Okay, but right now I'm not going to use from the source code. It will take 15 minutes to run all these commands. So I'm going to install apt install nginx, directly installing it, because this is Ubuntu server. You have a package already there. So I'm installing it. Yes. So this will save your time. Done. Now Nginx is installed and systemctl status. This is installed at the system level. Nginx. See, it's running also. In Ubuntu it runs. If you want to stop it, Nginx. This is the way. See, it's not running. And then start it once again. Restart also, it will work. And done. So this is the way you can start and stop. Now, two important thing. Okay, where is your configuration file? That is most important. Remember, everything is all about the configuration file. Okay, where is that? So that typically it's stored in the etc nginx folder. Here it is. Now the one more thing, location can be anywhere else, also depends on the operating system, but conceptually you should know all this thing. So here this is the most important file, nginx. So any traffic, see if it is running, right, and if it's running and where the traffic is coming, so its traffic is coming on the 80 port by default, right? So that means nginx, and this file will tell where to redirect that traffic. Okay, here this is like modules. Nginx, you have so many features which is not installed by default, so it will come in for module. You can enable it, and so. Okay, so typically locations, when you hit the Nginx, typical location for the web directory, default web directory is user local wwwis, right? HTML. I think I forgot. Let me search for it. Default web directory of Nginx. User share Nginx HTML. Okay, so this is the default location. So if you go to this place, ls, this is the place. So by default, when you hit on the Nginx 80 port, it will come to this place. Okay, so let's hit this So go to IP address, and 80 port by default. See, this is the file. Now let me change this, some of this changes in this file. bi index.html. In this I'm adding some content. h1 welcome to Moto share. h1 I'm adding. Save this and refresh. Did I save this? It's not taking actually. So oh, my bad, sorry. I wanted to keep it in the body part. Refresh. Now what? Should come. Okay, so that means this file is not local. I mean, this file is not the red. Why? I need to check this. Users share Nginx HTML. Let me check this one also. I think this is the one. Let me check because that was not detecting. So this locations depends on your operating system. It can be anything. Okay, you can customize these locations also and so on. So now let's check it out. Yeah, so this is the location. Okay, this is not always fixed. In the some Ubuntu will be there. This one in this Ubuntu version it is here. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay, so what is the most important thing in this whole exercise? This one, etc nginx and this file. Okay, that's the most important options which we have. So we need to understand this part only. So let's me open this one. So what is this? Look at this here. So many options. So if you see here, user www-data. What is that? That means the Nginx is running with that user. Okay. And how many workers to serve the traffic? It's automated. The Nginx will run with some PID, right? Where that PID will be stored? Here. Nginx will throw some error where the errors will be stored here. Now, this is important line, okay? So this is the Sanja version, okay? So any configurations you can store in this file, nginx.conf. But in real time, the configuration files can become very complex. So putting everything in one file is like mess. So what you should do? So there is one directory dedicated to this, which is called etc nginx module enabled here. Okay, and you can store lots of configurations in this directory. It can be custom any other locations also, but as per this line which I am saying, any files, any conf files which is stored here, that will be also read. Apart from this is the default one. Okay, so you can put the configurations. Now here you have event stanzas. Here you have HTTP stanzas. Okay, this HTTP stanzas only is receiving the traffic and doing the complete operations here. Here some more stanzas examples are given and so on. So understanding this file and modifying this file is most important one. Are you understanding?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's try to spend this configuration file and so on. So understanding configuration terms. So basically this the stanzas which I was showing you, the configuration file, this we talk about in terms of context and directives. Okay, so the configuration file consists of combination of context and directives. Okay, so that means you have a context or directives. So each Nginx configuration has one main context and one HTTP context. Okay, so one main context and one HTTP context. Please remember that. So this is the whole is main context, whole file. Okay, and out of which one HTTP context, this one is there. Okay, so remember the two context, you got it. Now inside that, whatever is been written here, you see this line, this line, this line, or this whole things, what do we call it? So that is called directives. So you see that structure, how you can do that. So inside the main context, that is the whole document is a main context. Okay, you will find event context, HTTP context, and stream context. Okay, so in this document, if you see right now, we have event context and HTTP context. Correct? Other context we do not. Stream context we don't have right. So this is the
What
I
is
mean, this is a
stream
flow.
context, by the way? I mean, if we just need to understand.
What is that?
What is stream context?
For that pub shub and all, there is a one. There's one concept where we have a pub shub, right? I mean, streaming the data continuously. For that, we required some sort of
Like,
special directive.
uh, can we say that? Like,
Yeah.
we
So
if
when
we have any streaming
so
platform, right? We want to configure with Nginx. Yeah.
yeah, stream web request typically will send you the request and serve the. You get a request, serve the response. Streaming does not require the response. Just keep streaming and then for data processing. So that way you can configure.
Okay.
Okay, so now this is the three context. Primarily, you can have a little bit more, but primarily, if you see, uh, here you have some mail context also commented, but right now this is the major one: events and HTTP and all. Under the HTTP, you will have a server and locations. Remember, server and locations. That means uh, what will be the directive for each traffic which is coming and where it should go, which server and where it should go, and upstream also. We'll show you the example in upcoming slides. So let's discuss about the main context. So the main context is a very highest level where you declare the highest level declarative such as number of workers, Linux username, ped, location lab. So if you see that here, all this thing we had it already. Which user the Nginx should run, number of workers, ped, error log, any other file configurations, and HTTP. So these are the main context. Okay. Now under the event context, used to define the connection processing directives. So under every context we'll have a directives, right? So what kind of directives? So used to define the connection processing directive, that is the number of connection assigned to each worker process. So Nginx runs with a multiple worker. Okay, multiple worker. Worker is something like, let's say you have hundreds of traffic which is coming on, hundreds of traffic. So how can you divide which traffic will be? Let me put it in this way. So this is the human, hundreds of human, and at a high level I'm saying all the traffic you get at AT port, which is Nginx. Okay, now each process required some, each request required some response, correct? So Nginx divide this into the worker, worker 1, worker 2, worker 3, worker 4, and so on. So each worker, that one process is handled by one worker and another worker and so on. So that way you can increase the number of workers or decrease the number of worker, depends on your load. Okay, so what we do in events, we define the number of connection processing directive, that is number of connection assigned to each worker process. So right now in this worker, how many connections you can parallelly execute? 3, 4, 5, all this thing you can set it up. So right now you see here worker connections 768. So that means the number of connections which will be allowed by the worker is 768. That's the default setting. Okay, so that is a event context. HTTP context define how Nginx process the HTTP and HTTPS connection, both. For example, you can set pool or backend server or applications. Okay, so directive used on the HTTP context are inherited to its general context, and that is the upstream and the server and locations. So the server context define the virtual server. So it's also known as virtual host, which process a given HTTP request, domain name, IP address, and socket. So that's a HTTP context. So here, if you see that in HTTP context, I do not have any virtual host in this file. We'll create it, but uh, it these are the basic settings. Okay, so right now no virtual host has defined. You can define the virtual host in this file also, or here it says, hey, why don't you define that in conf.d folder inside this virtual host, or you can use from this also, site enabled virtual host. So many locations are there uh, for doing this. So now if you see that conf.d, which is here, you can define the virtual host. It's empty right now because nothing is there. And here you have site enables here also, and there's one default is there. Let's look at this. This is the default. See here. So this is the one. So earlier, which I was showing you, more dot nginx. So this is the HTTP, and there is nothing actually. No directives is there for transferring the traffic. At the end of it, you see this line is there. That means any configuration files you should have, you should read this. And second one is here also. So it was empty for us, and this is having some file. Now if you read this file, default one, this is the conf file. Now here listen 80. Listen 80 means, that means this is the all the traffic which is coming on the 80 port. Okay, 80 port. For that, this is the virtual host. Now what to do the traffic, I mean what to do with that traffic which is coming on 80 port. So when I click here, 80 port, what to do? And here we have a more information. It should redirect to this directory. So because of that, this directory, remember I modified that one index.html, correct? Because
Yeah.
of this line only. So that means except from here, redirect to here. That's all. Okay. Many other spec is there for this. This is a root. Root means this path, this path. But if you want to do the path based specification, that means Raj1, it should direct to Raj1 directory, Raj2 directory. So here you can put it up. Right now it's empty, nothing is there. Okay, so you can decide all this thing here. So this is the one of the virtual host default one. Without that, your Nginx will not be serve this page. So it's there. Okay, so coming back to the discussion part, under the HTTP, you have upstream, server, and location. So server, which we have seen this here, and then inside that again locations, if you see. So server is calling this one listen 80 port, and location, if you see, sorry, here, and so on. So the server context define the virtual server. That means virtual server means see, very simple way. Right now, um, right now, human hit the motoshare.com. So this is a one domain, right? And here it will process web server to the motoshare. Let's say I'm hard coding this one. opt motoshare.com. It will redirect to motoshare.com. So that is one virtual host. But in this same server, I want to launch multiple domain. Let's say I want to host whichbrand.com also. Okay. So for that whichbrand.com also. So for that, what to do? So here in this also we have to, this will be one vhost 1, and then I have to create another vhost 2. Okay. So here in this example, if you see, server listen and go back to the virtual host. Here you see virtual host, and this is the default server, and then more like this you can add it, more like this part you can add it. So this is only for one, like that server, multiple server you can do, and this will go to the whichbrand.com. Okay, this can be for the domain or subdomain also, it's up to you. So here you see server context define a virtual server. So it's known as a virtual host which process a given HTTP request for domain name, IP address, and socket. Three things you can set it up. Domain name, I explained it to you. Location is this one. Location is this one. Okay. So location context further define how the virtual server process an HTTP request based on the specific URI you have defined. It can point to a path on the file system or to determine by matching the URI request to string defined in this. That's the location. Upstream context define a group of backends, application server, or web server to use in a load balancing to use. So upstream we use for load balancing feature. And stream context define how Nginx handle the layer 3 and layer 4 traffic such as TCP and UDP. So layer 3, layer 4 means OSI model if you have you have studied. So layer 3 you have, let me show you OSI model. one image. See, this is the good image. So layer 3 is network, see, and transport layer. So network layer and transport layer, TCP, UDP or physical path. Okay. So this has been used for streaming. Okay, fast streaming. So that is used for all the traffic. Okay, so now let's understand that how the directives and blocks is there. So we understand the context. Okay, remember these are the context. So main context in, okay, main context will have an event HTTP stream. Under the HTTP context, server context, upstream context. Under the stream you may have a server and upstream. Under the server context you have a location context. So your configuration of Nginx is a combine of multiple context, whereas the main is a root context. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, now let's talk about the directive.
So the virtual server example that you gave, like for two different domains, so it still connects to the same 80 port, just that in the context we have the different location. That's how we differentiate, right?
And there is one more line. Let me show you. So this is the one virtual context. So
Hmm.
this traffic will come to the 80 port. But
Okay.
the question is how this traffic will go to this directory, and this
Hmm.
traffic from for this traffic will go to this directory. How it will be decided? So you have
Hmm.
a server name somewhere downside here. So server here it will be www.motoshare.com or whichbrand.com. Based on that, right now it's a default, right? So here
Hmm.
you decide the, and here you decide that their directory.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Example, let me put it up. Let me show you right away. Create two virtual host in Nginx, one for motoshare.com and this one second for, and so this is the two virtual hosts, two server component you get. Don't give me full, huh? So see, this is the one virtual host and this is the second virtual host. This is minimal code. Now receive the traffic on 80, 80. But how the traffic will be directed? Server name, you see, where it will go to these locations. What page you will be serving this and logs and all. Make sense? Same way, see here which brand receive on 80 put, but if the header is having which brand or www which brand, go to where? This place. Got it?
Yeah. Yes. Makes sense. Thanks.
So this is the one. So these are the contexts. So keep this in mind. Main context, event, HTTP, server, location, all this thing. So now we have to discuss about the directives. So directives and blocks. So this each line which you see, uh, where is that? Here it is. These all inside that these are the directives, and put it on multiple one block will become. So that we need to understand. So we use directive to achieve a specific functionality within Nginx configurations. So directive is a single statement that control a given Nginx behavior, which I showed you. But you can also put multiple statement into the one block curly braces inside that. That will become a block. So block is a group of directive encased in the curly braces. So that is one. So look at this here. Here you have a block, server block, and inside that you have a two directive, listen and root, and end of this block. Simple, not complicated. Okay, so here if you see that this is the whole main context. On top of that, if you see, these are the error logs, bid and all, that is a directive. Events is a one block. Event is a context but in a block format. HTTP is another one, and so each of these are like this. Are you able to understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so now I want some of the directives to be discussed. Directive. So you will find one type which is called meme types. So meme types is very important. This only allows your web server to understand the media type. Okay, media type. So these are the media type, and put it in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, JPEG file, PNG file, and many you see right side. Which will be allowed, which will not be allowed, that is decided by meme.types block. So you decide that, and then you can say, hey, I will not allow in my server PDF file, or this file, or that file. So everything you decide in this meme types. You can combine this. Okay, you see, include meme.types. So that is one file which has all the blocks for allowed or not allowed. So you basically you can control which file is allowed in your web server or not allowed. Okay, so look at line number 5 for that. So every host you can allow and allow, they have their own meme types. Okay, now here you see, here you are adding www and removing the www. Look at this. So there is a two virtual host right now in this code. Okay, so server name is domain.com. So here, if you want your server to be accessible only on www, so see, if anyone will type domain.com and what you want to return, so let me show you. I did the yesterday only. See here, I just type, I mean, I just type myhospitalnow.com. Okay, and this is HTTP. See here. So this is the HTTP, and I put it up in the URL and see what it returned. It returned HTTPS and www. That means no matter what this domain, what your combination you are typing, I am offering only on this with S and www. How can you set this? So that is what you can decide in the virtual host return. So here you are saying, hey, return with a 301 and scheme, it should be in this format, and whatever the URL, subsequent URL, any URL after that. Are you understanding?
Yeah.
Here you are saying, hey, if anyone type www.domain.com but return only in HTTP, no www. So it's up to you which one you prefer. Old style, we typically prefer www, but nowadays people are not having memory. Just type the domain name .com and then you can get offer. It's up to you. It's decided by organizations. Okay, so this is something which we have. Now I'm going to show you some configuration file which will help you to understand, because in Nginx is all about the configuration files. So here, this is the one configuration files. Simple. This is the HTTP context, include meme types. Here you set, hey, any traffic request to the 80 port, it should go to temp Nginx. Okay, here you are not doing the domain based, here you are going IP based. Remember, three things you can set for server: domain, IP, and one more I forgot actually. Unix socket also. Okay, Unix socket. So three ways you can set it up. Domain. So this is a simple one. I don't think so you will have any difficulties. Now let's look at this one. Locations. In this you have location and blocks. So here, look at this very carefully. All the traffic is coming to 80 port, and if I type on this URL, browser URL, it should redirect to this place. Agree? This code is, you're okay, right?
Yeah.
But there is a problem. If you type this one /grid2, sorry, if you type this one slash anything here, anything, okay, then what you should get, this is a source. After this anything you type, what you should get, you should redirect to grid2, that URL, but in the page what you should return, so this is return 200, message will be hello from Nginx and at these locations. So here what you are doing, you are defining your locations using Nginx. So here it can be anything match, you should get this one. So this is called preferential prefix match. Now you say no. If anyone type greet in the URL, here you are not defining anything. Exact match. Here it's not exact match. Anyone can type G or small greet and 2. Okay. Here capital, it can be, you serve this one. That means this is a not a very strict one. But here you say no, the person should type this and slash greet. This is an exact match. Then you can put it up. So here preferential prefix match, here exact match is equal to. Are you understanding?
Sure.
Okay. Here you are saying, hey, anything typed with this slash greet and any digit matching. This is the match one. This is the exact match. This is like any cases. Okay, not, it should not be match as it is. So please understand this. Okay, so anything, then what should return? Here you're saying case sensitive. Okay, matching and star anything but case sensitive. So here, so this way you can decide the locations. More advanced use cases if you have, you can try. Now variables. So something you want to use multiple times. How can you set variables? In the configuration file, how can you set the variables? Okay, so here, this is the way you can set the variables. Set. Okay, so here you set the variable moon, default value no. Here you put the condition. See, this is a variable, this is the condition. If your local date, this is the function, okay, built-in function, multiple functions are there which you can use. If the dates are Monday, then set S, else continue, and then accordingly you can use this. So simple. If you want to declare the variable, you want to use the variable, set without that. Simple. Understood?
Yep.
How to put the condition? This is the one. Now, how can you rewrite and redirect? A rewrite means, see, user requests something, but you want to rewrite the URL. or user requests something but you want to redirect to something else. How can you do that? So look at these two lines. Okay, people will write this address / user, after that anyone, but results should be always in this fashion: greet $1. $1 is whatever that you type, this one. Okay, if people are typing, this is a redirect. People are typing greet and John, after this you should offer only this one, thumbs.png. People type greet, you display this one. Okay, people type greet John, you display this one. So this one and this one and this one is a way to return or rewrite. So you are returning here response, but here you are rewriting. Okay, so this way also you can do that. Okay, this one here you have a how to do the try. That means some 404 issues. How can you handle if some URL user has typed and that is not exist? You have not got any locations for it. So how to handle that one? So here this is the way to handle. Try files URI and someone is requesting cat.png which is not available, or someone is expecting greet which is not expecting. So can we redirect to someone? I mean, handle this friendly forward. So by default, if anything is not there, return this one. Okay. So like this, you can handle also. Logging some of the lines we have seen. Access log. That means any request which is coming to this virtual host, you should log here, access log. So you can get a traffic, you can see the review that who's accessing, from where it is, what they're doing, get, post, put, all this thing, you can see it here. Okay, so this is something which we have. Inherit. So basically sometime you want to inherit from the some settings from the different locations also. So this is something which is there, but it's not right now is so important for us, so just I'll ignore this. PHP processing, not, we are not doing programming, so I'll ignore it. Worker process, yeah, here. So look at this here. How can you set that? How many workers connections you can set? So this is the one which we discussed earlier also, and so on. So yeah. So this is the way to configure the Nginx and get it done. Any questions so far? Let me get you one examples. Give me one nginx.conf which has an example of all context and all directives and block as a reference. So I think this will help you to understand much better. So just for the reference, this is a main context, all these are directives. So this one, events, see here. So look at this here, the user nginx worker process run as, that means every worker will run as an nginx user. Number of worker process, how many number of work process? So here you have auto means based on the CPU, but actually you can set 10, 5, 100, all this thing. PID of Nginx will be here. Error logs of Nginx will be here. How many max connection per worker allowed, accept as many connection as much possible on event method. This for the Linux pooling, not for Windows. Now this is a one poll context for HTTP. Okay, and HTTP, here you have decide the types, which is allowed, which is not allowed. There's one different file you have to modify. The log format, the access log, what format it should be there. So here you have a specific formats. By default also this format, but sometime you want to see extra one. And this is the log locations. Some more things here, GJs on, off, what exactly. And here you have upstream. You want to send it to some other server. So this is something. Here you have a one virtual host. Okay, this one is a whole virtual host. So here what you are deciding, receive the request on the 80 port. If user is hitting example.com, redirect to this to here. We are accepting HTML, HTML and index.php, the default file. Logs and error logs for this particular virtual host will be here. And some path-based directive locations. If people will hit only the root location like this, that means www.example.com/, then let him take to URI, and URI is not equal to 404. If someone is hitting to API, take him to this website, proxy. If someone is hitting with anything but PHP, so redirect to the PHP processors. Okay. So like this or other traffic, you deny this. So here you see location block for traffic for static files. Here you block the static files. You are taking to some other applications inside the same machines. Here you are handling the PHP only. Here you are denying everything. So it's like location. This you have to little bit expert if you want to work with this one. By the way, nowadays ChatGPT, if you type, they'll give you this location example, everything. This is for HTTPS. Remember, 80 port HTTP total traffic and HTTPS 443. This is the one. So typically, if you have an application on HTTPS, we block this. So we say listen, server name, and add only this one, or redirect. We do the redirect to HTTPS. Just now I showed you know that we did typically. So, and here you have streams. You want to send an email configurations. Here it is, and so on. So yeah, this is the way you have to understand and then practice. Any questions?
So this worker process, like I couldn't understand, like what is the significance of defining worker? Like
So
why we cannot have all connections just to the Nginx without?
this is not about the all connection. This is all about your CPU. See,
Okay.
remember, any request which is coming, it has to generate a response, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. So let's say there's a one server,
Mm.
okay, and here 10,000 request is coming,
Mm.
okay, 10,000 requests. So now you set, first of all, you set the worker based on CPU. Okay, so how
Mhm.
many requests you should take it up. So that worker you will decide here. This many worker, Nginx worker means I'll put it in this worker is means object concept, class and object concept.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, same way. Nginx is like it's a class, and
Mm.
you initiate one object, two object, three object. Now this object will consume CPU and RAM. Correct now?
Mm.
This class will not consume until you create
Mm.
instantiate object, then it will take a CPU and RAM. So worker is
Okay.
like a kind of object. So this one worker you created, one another worker, and like that. Now this worker will take 5 connections at a time. Then if it is 5 connections, so in this example 20 connections, 20 requests you can serve at a time. Okay, more than 20 it will fail, and there's no queue right now, it will fail. Correct. So like
Okay.
this you have to decide the number of workers. Right now what we set default, we set any number of worker. That means as long as you have a CPU, you keep the worker.
Okay.
Okay.
They just
And
get
but
like instantiated as per the requirement. Like there is no specific number of workers set, but five. There are only five. Let's say five connections. Only one worker is working, and there are
correct.
five more comes. Then probably one more worker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this worker and connection and your CPU and the traffic both are interrelated. So let's design this. I have 10 10 GB CPU with 10 CPU. How many worker I should set and connections for each worker? Okay, so this will give you at a high level design to understand. Traffic, suggest me different traffic and different value. Wrong type I did, but it will understand. So they will, I mean, based on the best practices, they will do that. They'll create one table in which how many you want. So see here, uh, let's say you've set worker process not auto 10. Okay,
Mm,
and here you set each worker should take 8,000 connections. Correct. So look at this good calculations here. If your website is traffic is low, small site, okay, 10 is good. Worker connection this one, that means this many total traffic you can, almost traffic you can cover. See,
mm,
correct now?
mm. Okay. Yeah.
Or maybe if you are creating a proxy server, proxy means redirecting to something else, then 10K. But if you have a, let's say, auto and 10 CPU and this one, so this much of traffic. So it depends on your whole things actually. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay. So upstream